support network also is educated concerning diabetes, because the more support you have, the better the outcomes. So, you ready? So I'd like to introduce you to Alice Benjamin and her, as she says, Ask Nurse Alice, and she will give a little bit more details about her program.
Good morning. Can you all hear me?
Yeah.
Am I loud enough? Okay, good. I like to talk loud. Welcome, everyone. My name is Alice Benjamin, known to many as Nurse Alice. I actually have my own nonprofit organization, and I am also a cardiopulmonary director and clinical nurse specialist here in Southern California, and a Fox News health expert. So I have some articles on the website you might have seen on television as well. So this morning, I want to welcome you again to Faces of Power, and basically I'm going to go over a basic diabetes 101. Because we talk about diabetes a lot. We know that it's a chronic disease and it can cause a lot of devastation and complications, but do we really, really understand what it is? It's one thing to say we have diabetes, but to understand what is actually going on in our body can be very meaningful and actually can assist you with adopting those healthy lifestyles and behavior changes. So I'm going to go ahead and get started. Please know this is a dialogue, a conversation. If you have any questions, please feel free to raise your hand and ask, speak up. And I have some questions for myself or for you all, and I will ask you. So if you look away, I will probably call on you. Okay? So just so you know. And I do have a prize at the end of my presentation. So pay attention. You might be the winner of that prize. Okay? All right, here we go. Okay, so these again are the objectives for my presentation today. I only have about 10, 15 minutes. Oh, I can keep, okay. Don't tell me that, because I will talk all day. You give a sister the mic and it's over. I can't sing and dance like, or rap like Nene, but I can do my thing as a nurse. Okay, but basically, my objective today is to help you better understand what diabetes is. Okay? Let's see. So a few statistics about diabetes, and I'm sure you'll hear this here, you'll hear this at the different stations that you go to in the different presentations, but it's something that I really want to make sure that I mention and cover. Almost 26 million people in the United States have diabetes. Now, you see the number there, it says 8.3 of the population. It sounds like a small amount. However, it really is a big deal considering how devastating diabetes can be if not managed. 18.8 million people have been diagnosed with diabetes, and there are 7 million people who are undiagnosed, meaning they have diabetes, but they don't know it. Sometimes we feel comfort in the, well, no one's told me I have diabetes, so I must not have it. That's not necessarily true. As you can see, there are 7 million people who have diabetes and don't know that they have it. And then there are 79 million people who have pre-diabetes. So how many people in here are familiar with the term pre-diabetes? How many of you have heard the term borderline diabetic? Yeah. Okay, borderline, pre-diabetic, same thing. Okay, so I want to talk about these things because you'll hear different words, and sometimes we think we know what they mean, but we might be, have that a little bit confused. So diabetes. So let's talk about what it is. Now when you eat food, your food breaks down into your body. It breaks down into fats, proteins, and carbohydrates. Carbohydrates break down into sugar, into glucose. So you hear those words? The carbohydrates break down into sugar. That's also known as glucose. And it enters into the bloodstream. Some of it is stored for later, and then some of it circulates for current use. It's a source of energy. Our body needs energy, just like a car needs gas, right? Okay. So you have glucose in your bloodstream. And then you also have a hormone called insulin, which is released by the pancreas. Y'all have heard of insulin?
Oh, yeah.
Well, so our body makes insulin. Our pancreas makes it. But there is a medication that people will inject into themselves called insulin as well. So insulin is needed because it helps the body to use the sugar as a form of energy. Now I know that can sound a little confusing, but let me put it to you this way. Your body needs energy. So imagine your car as a cell. Now for your car to go, you need gas, correct?
Correct.
Consider the glucose your gas. How are you going to get that gas into your car? What do you need?
Money.
Okay, to get the gas into your car, you need a gas nozzle, a hose to put into your tank, right? That is your insulin. Now, does that make sense?
Yeah.
To me, once I heard that analogy, I was like, that's easy. I completely understand it now. Your car is the cell. Gasoline is the glucose that your car needs, but you need that insulin. So that would be the gas pump that actually enters the gasoline into the car. Okay, now in diabetes, diabetes occurs when the body does not make enough insulin or the insulin it makes doesn't work well enough. Okay, so it doesn't work well enough. That would be that the gas nozzle that you have doesn't quite fit, so you can't get the gas inside, or you just don't have a gas nozzle, period, to get the gasoline inside. Okay, does that make sense to everyone? Does that help? Help you better understand it? So you all can take that analogy and share with your family and friends at the dinner table. Okay, it's something very simple. So that's what happens. That's how diabetes occurs. Now there are different types of diabetes. Did you all know that? Okay, type 1 diabetes, once known as juvenile onset, or it's also been called insulin-dependent diabetes. This is when the body doesn't make any insulin. And you need the insulin, right? Because what does the insulin do? What do you need the insulin for? The insulin is needed to get the glucose into the cell, correct? So with type 1, the body doesn't make this insulin. So commonly, these are the people that will need to inject insulin. Okay, and then there's type 2 diabetes. So this is more common. About 95% of people have the type 2 diabetes. It's been known as adult onset diabetes as well. This is when the body doesn't make enough insulin or the insulin it makes doesn't work well enough. So for people who have type 2 diabetes, they are commonly on pills, oral medications, but sometimes they may have to take insulin as well. Okay? There's also gestational diabetes, so this occurs during pregnancy. And usually once women deliver, the diabetes resolves. However, people who have gestational diabetes are at a higher risk for still developing type 2 diabetes. And then I have this one statement here, because diabetes, we hear that word. It's actually diabetes mellitus is the complete name. But sometimes in different cultures you'll hear it referred to as something else. I know in the African American community we refer to it as having the sugars. So that's just a little fun statement there. If you have sugars, you have diabetes. But that's just a pet name that we have for it in our community. Okay, so pre-diabetes. So just like the name indicates, it happens before you have type 2 diabetes. So you don't just wake up all of a sudden and have diabetes. Pre-diabetes is generally an ongoing process that's happened over years. It's something that's been allowed to happen. You didn't know you had diabetes, and then as time goes on, you later develop type 2 diabetes. Now, this is also when, well, let me refer to the blood glucose levels. So, how would I know that I'm pre-diabetic? So for the average person who does not have diabetes, in the morning with a fasting blood sugar glucose level, your levels will be 99 or less. In the morning, I take my blood glucose level, it's between 100 and 125. That's my pre-diabetic numbers. And then those who are diabetic, their fasting blood sugars have usually been greater than 126. So those are just some numbers to look at. Obviously, you still want to do this testing with your healthcare provider, but these are just some numbers to kind of guide you. Okay, risk factors for diabetes. So someone who has an impaired glucose tolerance or fasting glucose. So remember on this previous slide, we talked about the 100 to 125. So that would be someone who's at risk for developing diabetes. Someone who's age 45 and older, you're at a higher risk for developing diabetes. If you're overweight, also high risk. Those who do not exercise regularly. If you have high blood pressure or high triglycerides or a low HDL, which is a cholesterol level. If you have a family history of diabetes, you're also at risk. Women who had gestational diabetes, and certain ethnic groups and racial groups. So let me ask, can anyone guess which ethnic group is at the highest risk of developing diabetes?
African American.
African Americans, okay. What's the second group? Hispanic. Third group. Asians? Yes, Asian Americans. Okay. Which is almost just about everybody I have sitting in my seat. So I hope you guys are all paying attention. Okay. Any questions so far? Yes. The question is anyone born with diabetes? You know, I don't take care of pediatrics. I know, I can't say that I know of anyone specific. I'd have to get back to you on that question.
We're talking more.
Hold on, let's get your question answered. This is a dialogue, so it's a team effort here.
Hi, you're normally not born with diabetes, but if you have gestational diabetes, then the blood sugar of the baby can be elevated. It's not necessarily a permanent state. The babies tend to be overweight, and they may have some sugar problems. Hi, I'm Ann Stavrin. I'm a doctor. I'm with the Charles R. Drew Medical Society. Good morning.
Thank you. Okay. Repeat it again, doctor.
Oh, I'm saying that the gestational diabetes puts the baby at risk for being overweight, and their blood sugar may be out of order when the baby is born. It's not necessarily a permanent state. The only other children, which would be a very, very rare occurrence, is there's something wrong with the pancreas. They're born with a pancreas that is too small, or there's something wrong with it. But it's very important to control gestational diabetes because the infant is in danger.
Thank you very much.